Paris, London, US, etc. Okay, but that's what we have special forces for. So I think, so this is an interesting position for a progressive to take, because I think that in conventional wisdom, like, oh, progressives don't want to use force. No. We want to use smart force, right? And so bombing is dumb, because then you hit civilians, you hit innocent people, and you turn them against you. Special forces oftentimes get the job done surgically. They did with bin Laden. We captured the top terrorist in Somalia. We swooped in, got him, swooped back out. It was an amazing job, and I commended that greatly. So do you risk more special forces lives if you drop them, for example, in the middle of Ramadi? Of course you do. I'm not unaware of that. But they're special forces, right? That's their job. If we're not going to use them for that, well, then don't have them and just have a bunch of bombs and then live with the fact that we're going to be in a perpetual state of war as we continue a cycle of violence. Their innocence, our innocence, their innocence, our innocence. I don't want that. That's why we have special forces. Drop them in, do the best you can. If it didn't work, drop them in again. And so, okay, you say, well, that you're going to lose some people. We lost a hell of a lot more troops in Iraq when we did a mass invasion, and we lost, 5,000 guys.
The danger of drones and bombing, of course, is that you don't have to make those hard decisions, and I think that ends up hurting us. So I mean, I agree with you. I think we're likely, who knows, but we're likely.
Alright, welcome to the Young Turks. Jenk and John with you for this first hour. Yeah. So that's a little bit later in the program.
If he shut down the internet, what would he do with all the time he wouldn't spend tweeting?
No, of course he shut it down for you, John,
Yes, of
not
course.
for him. There's a lot of foolish people who think we shouldn't
There are a lot of foolish people.
who think we shouldn't shut down the internet. Okay, and then I just want to tell you something that's not in the rundown, just to further depress you tonight as we start the show. Just before I came on, I saw the latest Zogby poll. Oh, Trump now at 38%.
What, nationally?
No. Among the Republicans. Yeah, nationally among the Republicans.
Wow.
Yeah. 25 points above Ben Carson at number 2. Ben Carson's at 13, Rubio's at 12, and Cruz is at 8. Okay, so now let me explain. The Democratic Party, is absolutely positively convinced that the nominee is going to be Marco Rubio. I get their press releases. 8 out of 10 press releases are about what a terrible person Marco Rubio is. They almost never talk about Trump. They almost never talk about anything else. No other candidates. Rubio. Dude, Rubio is at 12. The other guy's at 38. Wake up and smell the fascism.
But the bigger they are,
Yeah, the bigger they are, and then they win.
Oh, and really fast, so we've been talking this whole time about how, well, yeah, he's up in the polls, but, so-and-so crazy person was up in the polls at this point in the other cycle. Well, I just did for Final Judgment. Historically, the candidate in the Republican primaries up in December goes on to win.
Yeah, we're in December, folks. He's got a 25-point lead. Okay. And that was the first poll to come in after the total ban comments, but more coming. All right, here we go.
Okay, let's jump into the news. We'll get back to Trump eventually. With protests continuing across Chicago, Rahm Emanuel just gave a speech today to show that he understands the concerns of those protesting and that real change is finally on the way. Let's watch.
We need to talk about what to do differently to ensure that incidents like this do not happen again. About the police culture that allows it and enables it, and the even larger cultural issues that devalue life in our communities. What happened on October 20th, 2014 should never have happened. Supervision and leadership in the police department and the oversight agencies that were in place failed. And that has to change. I am the mayor. As I said the other day, I own it. I take responsibility for what happened because it happened on my watch. And if we're going to fix it, I want you to understand it's my responsibility with you. But if we're also going to begin the healing process, the first step in that journey is my step, and I'm sorry. Nothing less than complete and total reform of the system and the culture that it breeds.
So in that clip, he's talking about the revealed video of the shooting of Laquan McDonald. It should have never happened. If it was going to happen, the video should have never been released. He didn't actually say that, but they did hold it for a long time.
So, as I watched that, I have two different reactions. One is, it was a pretty good way of apologizing, fairly thorough. I didn't mention people by name, right? But
yeah,
so it had issues there, and protesters pointed that out later. But it seemed genuine. Okay, now the second thought I have is this is Rahm Emanuel, and I've tracked his whole career. It's not like he's new to us, and like, oh, who's this guy? Oh man, he messed up, Golly Gee Willikers, and here he is owning up to it. This guy is one of the most insincere politicians that I've ever seen in my lifetime, right?
Yeah.
So, he usually loves to yell at progressives and liberals and his own base, and will only go to appease them as he's doing here in the case of the citizens of Chicago who are mad at him if his ass is on the line.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden his ass is on the line and he's really, really sorry. Now, you see, the thing is, he's going to have more of an emotional reaction in the second clip we're going to show you. But you should have thought this from day one, right? You say like, hey, this happened on my watch, so I own it. So my second reaction to that is, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Like, did that just occur to you because people are mad at you and for the first time you feel that your political life is in danger, right? That's why, like, well, all right, I'm responsible. I forgot about that. Yeah, you've been responsible all along, and you've been screwing up all along.
I think that those sorts of concerns would have been more salient to him at that time had there been, like, an impending election.
Oh, I see. Right. So let's give you more emotion, and then I'm going to continue to criticize.
One young man asked me a simple question that gets to the core of what we're talking about. He said, do you think the police would ever treat you the way they treat me? And the answer is no. And that is wrong. And that has to change in this city. That has to come to an end. And end now. No citizen is a second-class citizen in the city of Chicago.
So he gets emotional there, and almost teary-eyed. You want to reach out to him. I'm glad he spoke to those kids, and I'm glad he got that message away. On the other hand, it's ripping at me to scream at him, like, why didn't you realize that from the first day you came into office? And much earlier than that, when you were
years and years ago.
Really, you didn't know that young black kids in Chicago don't get treated as well as the mayor does? Like, that's news to you? Like, you didn't know that black people in Chicago have been complaining about the police for decades and decades? And you were mayor for all this time. This year on your second term, and that was news to you? You just met a young black kid, and you just learned that? Come on, dude. So then that gets me to my larger point, which is, when did you see the Laquan McDonald video?
Yeah. When
did you see the video of Philip Coleman being dragged around that we can show you, right? When did you see the video of Robert Johnson getting shot, right? When did you see all these videos? Because if you just saw them the other day, you're like, I didn't know that was happening. Okay, well, you're a little slow, but maybe I can understand.
Yeah.
If you saw them a year ago, but now all of a sudden you're outraged because your ass is on the line, well, then I'm not buying your crocodile tears.
Yeah, I mean, the not understanding the situation of the Chicago teens is, he probably gets his news from Fox News, so maybe that's understandable. But the wording that he actually used when he was asked about why he didn't watch the video earlier, because he asserts that he did not watch it earlier, he was saying, like, he didn't want to be, like, prejudge against it and, like, conflict of it, and all that BS. First of all, I don't know that from what he said you can actually believe that he did not watch it earlier. And even if he chose not to watch it, the idea that he was never like, so what's basically in the video? That he had no idea when the police were denying multiple Freedom of Information requests to get access to information, when it required a lawsuit from a journalist to get it, that he never even asked what was in the video? Like, is it as bad as I think it probably is? I think the idea that he didn't have that information earlier is basically laughable. He's barely even trying to deny it. I think that he's trying to take responsibility in some vague way. I mean, we've seen a million times where protests start and they're laughed off. Then they become more serious, and now you have the emotion. The same sort of thing happened in Ferguson. Originally, the response from the police chief was weak sauce, and then eventually he comes out and he does his teary speech. But that's still just 1 to 10 steps removed from actual reform, which he's talking about having here. But I think, understandably, the protesters aren't buying it at this point. So one of the protest leaders said, "We will now hold our leaders accountable for the transgressions they commit and that are committed under their watch." And then, more importantly, perhaps, task forces, press releases, symbolic replacements of one crony for another are no longer enough to mollify the masses. So, like, look, the teary speech is great, but if he's still, like, tied in with the police, I wouldn't settle for that.
Okay, so by the way, the other guy who was shot was Ronald Johnson, and he got shot 5 times. I saw that video. They found a pistol on him later. They claimed that he had taken out the pistol at some point. You can't see that on camera.
Yeah.
Okay,
you rarely can.
Right, no, that's okay. Okay, he's running away with a gun. At this point, oh my God, he had a gun. That's like the cleanest shooting we've ever seen, right? But Laquan McDonald is unquestionable. You've seen it many times. But I want to show you the Coleman video here. It's pretty long. So what you're going to see is about 9 cops enter, give or take a couple dozen, into his cell. They've got to subdue him. They tase him, and then the way they drag his body out is what's really disturbing. Now let's watch. Okay, so, look, you might say, maybe the guy was out of control, and maybe they need a lot of guys, and maybe a lot of guys do it better than a couple of guys, and it's more civil.
There's a possibility that you can restrain him in a way. Multiple guys, you could just restrain him, whereas one might have to sort of fight him. I guess that might be the idea. I love that they have the cameras, but the blocking it out, which they have to do, obviously, and then they're shooting it like 3 frames a second, it's incredibly difficult to even tell what's happening. Go with the actual dragging. Yeah, his legs are limp.
Okay, don't drag the guy like that. Don't drag him.
It's It's not like they don't have enough people to carry him.
He's a human being. I know you don't like him. He resisted. Yada yada. You already tased him. You already got him under control. This is why people get mad. By the way, guess what happened to him? He died a day later.
Yeah.
He died a day later. Because if you keep kicking the crap out of people and tasing them and dragging them through the halls, sometimes they get permanent damage and sometimes they die.
Yeah.
So, this can't be news to Rahm Emanuel. It can't be news. If it is news, then boy, he's the most coolest mayor that's ever been in a major city.
And he doesn't seem like he's got a lot of flaws, but I don't think clueless about what's going on is one of them.
So, I've seen a lot of politicians cry in my lifetime. I've never seen them cry before they got caught. So, Duke Cunningham. Oh, if you saw him, you would have thought it was the most genuine thing you ever saw in your life.
Yeah.
On his way to jail. Weeping up a storm. Oh, Jesus, what have I done? Dear Lord, dear, I found you, Jesus. Right? And nobody, look, that sounded insincere. If you saw the tape, you'd be like, wow, that guy, he really means it.
Yeah.
We found out later that he'd taken a bag of cash that he was, and thrown it out the window of his car as he was driving to that press conference onto his wife's lawn so she could hide it. And then he comes to the press conference, oh, I'm so sorry. I realized what I did wrong. I'm so sorry. Rahm Emanuel, you would have gotten 1,000% credit for it if before the video, 13 months into Laquan McDonald's video, you were hiding, the city of Chicago is hiding, you some point go, hey guys, you know what? I know we're hiding it, but let me take a sneak peek at it since I'm the mayor.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's really bad. I'm going to release it without a court ordering me, or even if I don't release it, I'm going to come out and go, you know what? Something bad happened on my watch, and I'm not going to tolerate it.
Yeah.
So, but when now there are thousands of people protesting in the streets, and all of a sudden your career's on the line, and then you come at me with your tears, you're going to have to excuse me that I don't believe you. And you're going to have to excuse me that it's not good enough that in your second term, for you to realize there's a problem, and to start to begin to address it, only because your career is on the line. Why didn't you begin to address it so many years ago? Because you never cared, because it didn't affect you.
Yeah, and obviously everybody's saying, and I even joked about how the video came out originally, or not came out, it was stopped from coming out, but it existed prior to the last election. And the idea is, well, that could look really bad for him. Well, yeah, of course it would look really bad for him if he watched the video, released the video, and then did nothing about it. That would be bad for him. But if instead he had released the video and said, here is my 25-point plan for how we're going to deal with something that is obviously incredibly salient to the people of Chicago, such that a year later, less than a year later, they're protesting and doing walkouts across the city, that could have actually helped him in the election, theoretically. The idea that a politician could actually be a leader on this issue, which, by the way, has only been daily or weekly news for years now, but still almost no one, even Rahm Emanuel's arm has to be twisted for them to actually stand up and do something about it.
They have a black site in Chicago, almost like a CIA black site, where they make people disappear. Is that news to you, Rahm Emanuel? I mean, what else is news to you as a Chicago mayor?
Yeah.
So, now, at the end, I gotta conclude that there's crocodile tears.
He just found out they've got a basketball team right in the city.
No.
It's amazing. You barely have to drive. It's right there.
Really? There's no way they also have a hockey team.
That'd be too much for one city.
Or a football team. No. It's all going to be news to Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah, and so you mentioned the home on Square. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but yeah, thousands and thousands of people go there. Only a couple of dozen get access to a lawyer, and those numbers that we have, which are already horrendous, are for the people who are eventually charged with something. The people that are taken there and then not charged with anything, just thrown back out on the street, we have no idea about those people. But we have heard about rapings that have gone on there, assaults that have gone on, blackmail, torture, effectively. Many people consider it torture. And thankfully, there are going to be some sort of hearings going on right now. And supposedly, the Department of Justice might look into it. They seem interested in looking into it. I would say perhaps fit in a little bit of an investigation. Before we find out that there's tapes there showing people being dragged down hallways or shot 16 times.
Ron thinks he's so clever. I'm not sure that's the case. I mean, look, dude, you got millions upon millions of dollars in, corporate money, connected money, and you won a couple elections. That doesn't make you particularly clever. It makes you particularly corrupt. And so you think you keep fooling people. No, you're just buying these elections with overwhelming ads, right? But these people are not fooled anymore. And so, enough is enough. Yeah. If by this time you couldn't figure out that there was corruption in the Chicago police, and that perhaps they weren't treating African Americans the same way that they treat the esteemed citizens of Chicago, come on. Then you're never going to figure it out. Does anyone genuinely believe that Rahm Emanuel has had a legitimate awakening, a moral awakening? Like, oh my God, before he was just a seedy politician, but now he has seen the light. And in the light, he realizes, oh my God, we're all equal citizens. I should represent you all. Yeah. Okay, maybe, but probably not.
I've even got the beginnings. It's just the beginnings. I've only been thinking about it for like 5 seconds now. A political ad where you play. He had the great little turn of phrase, like there's a million steps we need to take, but the first step has to be mine. You play that and then say, we want you to take that step. Step down.
Ooh.
Anyway, Rahm Emanuel. He had gone quite a while without really being in the news until this came up. I'd forgotten how detestable the guy he actually was. Okay, let's jump to something else. Fox News has some incredibly questionable advice for kids caught in an active shooter situation. Let's watch.
In an active shooter situation, 5 seconds can mean the difference between life and death. But there are some things that you can do and your children can do to make a difference. You guys, Tony and Stephanie, you're gonna display for us and exemplify what would happen in an armed shooter situation. Right. What would that look like?
All right, so I'm going to pretend that I have a gun here, and if I was an active shooter and there was a wall or something, and I'm pointing the gun at someone, and Stephanie's going to disarm me.
Okay, and that's coming from behind.
That's coming from behind.
Let me ask you something else. You then turned and then used some moves on him. Do you keep running once you do that, or do you turn and actually like fight, kick, and get this guy down?
Well, once you engage the gunman, you have to just take him out.
Okay.
You have to fight strong. So you're not going to actually try to get away until you actually make sure that you've done some damage to him. Because if you don't, then he'll just pursue you.
Okay. Let's count the ways in which that video is absurd. So now America's got...
Stapler.
Yeah, it's a stapler.
Because as I said, I don't know if you can hear me, but apparently Fox News is gun-free zone.
Wait a minute.
Why wouldn't they want to be safe? They should have given him a real gun.
Wait a minute. If you want to be really safe, why didn't you arm every single person in the studio?
Hasselbeck should have a rocket launcher on her back at all times.
Yeah, arm the kids. Because only
a bad kid with a gun.
Oh yeah, only a good kid with a gun can stop a bad kid with a gun. Okay, or a stapler. Don't take my stapler. Okay, so now we've gotten so sick as a society that Fox News is bringing in kids to teach kids how to disarm active shooters.
Yeah.
First of all, the fact that we have a term called active shooter that we hear almost every other day is sick in and of itself.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another active shooter. Everybody duck, hide for cover, yada yada, right?
Yeah.
Then, second of all, okay, let's teach the kids to Krav Maga to unarm these shooters. What fantasy world do you live in?
We know what fantasy world they live in.
This is insanity, right? It almost reminded me like of a Hamas video of like, okay, here's the bumblebee that tells you how to shoot people, right? Yeah. And don't involve the kids. Don't teach the kids to go and run towards an active shooter. They'll think that they can do it. What the fuck was that bullshit with the stapler? You think they're gonna... Okay, no, I know.
She wasn't a kid. So, we have a kid video we played at one point. No, I have no problem, first of all, with any of the people that they brought in to demonstrate that. They are demonstrating safety stuff. And look, if you're...
That's not safety. Get the fuck away from the gun.
Let me finish. So, look, you should know some stuff to defend yourself. The thing is that it's not the first thing you do. And the reason that I'm not going to attack the Krav Maga practitioners, and yes, I do take Krav Maga, is that Krav Maga practitioners don't say it's the first thing you do. They say you run. That's what they say. Now, they're brought in not to run. They're brought in to demonstrate the moves, so that's what they're doing. But they don't even believe that you go up and you attack them. They say whatever you can do to not get in the fight, that's what you do. But if you get in the fight, this is what you do. They're being manipulated by Fox there because they know that the people watching it believe that they're heroes and they're going to attack every shooter.
But is that the message of the kids at home? If the kids at home.
No, that's why why I'm attacking Fox. The message is wrong.
Yeah, as if there were any kids watching Fox News. But still, okay. Average age is 68 years old at Fox News. Have I told you that before? Okay. So anyway, but Ben Carson tells him you should attack the shooter.
Yeah.
Now you have a demonstration on Fox News saying you should attack the shooter, and then all you have to do is do this, and then the gun will be on yours. No, but you don't know Krav Maga. Okay, even if you did know it, it's not like the gunman's going to just sit there like, oh, you have taken my gun. He's going to be active. He's going to pull back. He's going to fire the gun while you're trying to take it away. Not like you do this to him. It's totally unrealistic.
But Ben Carson also gives mixed messages because he says you should attack the shooter, but he also says that I will point him towards another person he could shoot.
Yeah, all right.
That's what he actually does.
All right, now let's bring the kid in. Okay, let's watch this.
Okay.
Can you walk us through one step here, one thing that these kids would go through in your training to not
Absolutely.
So, show us a drill
hold the gun and pretend that he's holding it, and the way we would teach it is from the side. He go to the side, and he would basically just practice taking the.
So this will be quick, about 10 seconds before we go.
Right. He's going to practice getting me off the line of fire and attacking the person. Okay. Right, and this is how we teach the kids in the school.
Yeah. And the gunman's just going to sit there and go, oh, you are taking my gun. Here you go. Right? Yeah. Look, when I was a kid, I did the same thing. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we'd practice goofy stuff with each other, and I thought I could disarm somebody with a knife, so I had this comb we'd pretend was a knife, and one guy did it with it. He's like this, and I'm like, wow, boom, and I twist his arm, and I got it, I feel like a hero, right? Then I tried it with my best friend, and he's like, oh, shit, oh, my God, I got stabbed 10 times. Okay, because in the real world, it doesn't work that way. The guy fires the bullets, and then your 8-year-old's dead. Yeah. Don't go near the gun.
Yes. So that's the message we have to take. Again, I'm going to say I'm not blaming the Krav Maga practitioners because they don't teach you to attack the shooter. I'm blaming Fox News because they're pretending when they put safety first at the bottom that what they're teaching is what you should learn first. This is the first thing you should learn. Let's show these graphics. Here you've got the DHS. They say what to do when there's an active shooter. Which, by the way, I think we can just say shooter. There's a shooter. You don't need to say active. I'm sure he's moving and stuff. Anyway, here they say evacuate. You should try to get out. And then the second one is hide. If we can go to the second one. You see hide. Yeah, so either run away or hide somewhere they're not going to find you. Maybe at some point later on it says something about fighting back if you absolutely must. But they gave, in that entire thing, they very briefly mentioned something about running away. But that's not sexy. That's not cool. They don't want to show, somebody running on video. So they focus entirely on the attacking person, teaching the exact wrong message, teaching people stuff that's going to get them hurt, actually.
Fox News, their new slogan should be, Fox News, we'll get you killed.
If it makes for exciting air, you're going down.
Yeah. Oh, you're 68 anyway, so.
That's true. And that number, by the way, is now old. It's almost certainly gone up since then. I don't think the 5 has brought it down that significantly.
You want to show the Hannity clip?
Yeah. This is fun. So this is from, I think this is from last year. This is Sean Hannity, who, by the way, did not post this video just so that he could look cool. But here's Sean Hannity in his training.
There's the president, his really, really strenuous workout and a gym routine. I think they look like 1 to 2 pound weights. And guess what? That's not exactly how I roll. In order to stay in shape, now for a couple of years I've been doing mixed martial arts training. Chuck is known for this.
God, man, look, we're the ones for nonviolence. But God, that makes.
Oh, you want to punch him in the face?
Nothing's made me want to fight more than looking at that Sean Hannity video. Because remember, conservatives, their number one motivation is fear, right? Mm. The first time, that guy's going to be all this and stuff. After the first punch, he's going to crumble.
Yeah.
And then the begging begins.
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody's a tough guy until the first punch.
Yeah.
So anyway, don't ever get in a fight. It's a really dumb idea. Yeah. Everybody's got a gun. Get away. Don't do any of that shit.
By the way, I don't know why he's wasting his time. Why would he do all this, the moves and everything? Just get a gun. Be a real man. Defend yourself. And by the way, at the end, he's like in the face of the camera. I'm sure the cameraman at some point is thinking, dude, stop doing that. Goddamn, please stop. But he desperately wanted it in the final video. Oh, Chuck Liddell, you seem cool. Anyway, why don't we take our first break? Yep. When we come back, we've got Trump calling for the banning on Muslims coming into this country, and now other countries fighting back.
The truth is, I broke the law, concealed my conduct, and disgraced my office. I know that I will forfeit my freedom, my reputation, my worldly possessions, most importantly, the trust of my friends and family. Some time ago, I asked lawyers to inform U.S. Attorney Carol Lam that I would plead guilty and begin serving a prison term. Today is the culmination of that process. I will continue to cooperate with the government's ongoing investigation to the best of my ability.
Man, that's awesome. We have been around a long time. Because I remember doing that story and calling him a bitch.
I felt sorry for him there. I was making fun of him in the beginning, but then I was like, oh, no, don't cry, buddy. It's going to be okay.
I told you, later we found out. This is my favorite video.
Fuck it. I'll be back for you, bag of cash.
That's right. Okay, let me read some tweets here.
Pretty awesome, by the way, throwing a bag of cash out of a car.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Michael. No, where's Michael? Oh, there he is. Michael Napin. Turkish delight and warm apple pie. Okay, that's a description for us. Thank you, Michael, I think.
I didn't realize we meant it first. I do like Turkish delight, by the way.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Your mama says, great little aside by John. Emmanuel tried to stop the Laquan video from being released. If you wanted to own it, why not release it? Okay, that's a great point. Scott Barnes says, great shirt, John. I want one. Oh, and
if only there were a place on the internet where you can go, like shop.tyt.com.
Well, Rayanne Rochelle says, I'm going to need John Idarola to stand up and model that shirt.
Yeah, I will stand up very. I'm not sure. It's going to be more of a shot of my crotch at that point. But there you go. Bitchy Rich. And it comes in multiple colors. Looks good in red as well.
ShopTYT.com. ShopTYT.com.
Designed by Ali, one of our graphic designers. I think he did a great job.
So that's where you can get our merchandise at ShopTYT. If you're going to do shopping outside of that for Christmas, which I suspect if you're Americans you are, right? If you're not Americans, you probably are. Go to TYTnetwork.com. There's a link that you should bookmark. If you bookmark that link for Amazon, then it costs you nothing, but we get a certain amount of proceeds. It's a fantastic way to support our show. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes like 5 seconds. TYTnetwork.com. So we really, really appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Finally, no more donations says, hard to tell if this video, referring to the Coleman video in Chicago, hard to tell if this video was shot in American jail or Abu Ghraib. Hashtag recall Ron. All right. And by the way, some of the great TYT Chicago folks, the ones that won the TYT City contest, were out there protesting against Ron Emanuel.
That's awesome.
So bless their hearts.
All right.
Makes sense.
Small note on Mr. Randall. I guess it was Randall, but Randy Duke Cunningham. That tearful, not even apology, but admission was after the cash throw.
After the cash throw.
You toss it over the top of your car into your wife's driveway. Then you go and do that. So even those tears, this is why we didn't feel sorry for him. It was after that.
Yeah.
You gotta think though, like, he's up there like, really? I'm gonna go to jail now? I'm like 1,000. I'm going to jail now? Come on. I've been corrupt for decades.
Now you catch me.
I was corrupt during World War II.
Well, that's probably how Rahm Emanuel felt too.
Yeah, probably.
All right. What's next?
Okay. Talk about Trump, unfortunately. So it makes sense. Get your shirt and then we can talk about it together. In response to Donald Trump's call to ban Muslim immigration to the entirety of the United States, several countries are now talking about banning him in various forms. First of all, a letter was sent from 37 of the opposition legislators in Israel's lawmaking body, saying while other world leaders condemn the racist and outrageous remarks of the Republican presidential candidate, Netanyahu embraces him. And they're talking about Donald Trump's planned trip to Israel, where he's supposedly going to meet with Netanyahu for a lovely little chat. And they're saying he should not be allowed to do that. And then another group doesn't want him to even be able to physically set foot inside of their legislative building. Until we figure out the danger posed by neo-Nazis such as Trump, we cannot let him enter the Knesset. So he doesn't have any plans yet to enter there, but if he chooses to, they're going to try to ban him. And they're mocking his words there.
So I love that even Israeli legislators are like, hey, take it easy on the Muslims.
Totally. By the way, that's a third of their legislature.
Right.
That's the equivalent of like 150 congressmen signing a letter.
Now, of course, remember that 20% of Israel are Arab Israelis, so they're Muslims. As well, this is the third largest party in Knesset is an Arab Israeli party. And so now, meanwhile, Michael Oren, who's part of Netanyahu's government, says that they're going to meet with him anyway, but they're going to express deep reservations about the offensive nature of his remarks.
Oh yeah.
So remember, there's a lot of left-wingers in Israel. There's a lot of moderates in Israel, right? So they're just as offended by Trump as we are. Bless their hearts. It just happens to be that the right-wingers are now in charge in Israel. So Netanyahu's like, yeah, you're crazy right-wing. I'm crazy right-wing.
Really, you're attacking Donald Trump? This isn't even as bad as the stuff I said before our last election about Arab Israelis. But they're not the only ones. There's also a gigantic petition going around in the UK. Now, this is text from the actual petition saying the UK has banned entry to many individuals for hate speech. The same principle should apply to everyone who wishes to enter the UK. There should be no distinction for rich or poor, powerful or weak. And so the petition, as of, I believe, this evening, had gotten over 300,000 signatures. And any petition that gets more than 100,000 is considered by Parliament's Petitions Committee, which weighs whether to send the petition for debate by lawmakers in Parliament. So there's a chance that might actually be considered.
Well, in a lot of European countries, what Trump did, what Trump said would be illegal.
Yes.
So they don't have the same freedom of speech that we do, and they outright ban hate speech.
Yeah.
And so some of the speech that he's had, not just against Muslims, but against Mexicans and other groups, could easily be classified as hate speech, and in some European countries, could get him locked up.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can't say he's a bigot, because I heard him say he's actually the least bigoted person in the world.
Oh, well, okay, then that's
And he gave many examples.
And he's trying to make America great again.
Yeah.
So
I saw it on
that.
a hat. He should have the least bigoted person in the world on a hat.
Right.
Really, it's like the stupidest thing. I was thinking about it. Like, I consider myself a big lib. I'm probably in like the 55th percentile for least bigoted, and he thinks he's the least bigoted person. Anyway, so in response to him saying the thing about we shouldn't have any Muslims come in, there's been a lot of great videos. Some of them were shown on the Young Turks yesterday. Sort of response, people in the media who don't know how to act, don't know how to respond to it because it's such a crazy thing to say. We're only going to update you with one more. This is a spokesman for the Trump campaign talking with Essie Cupp, and her response to concerns about what this represents is awesome in its simplicity.
There's no constitutional requirement to allow anyone to immigrate to the United States, and there's already U.S. laws on the books giving Congress the authority to ban immigration from nations that are hostile towards America, so this is really nothing new. And Mr. Trump doesn't really care what ISIS thinks or ISIS wants. All he cares about is the American public. It's not nothing new, as you say. There really is something new to the idea of banning an entire religious group from entering the country as a pause or temporarily, as it may be. That is new. That is not who we are. That's not what we do. Never in United States history have we ever allowed insurgents to come across these borders, and it's worse now today.
No one's talking about allowing insurgents. You're talking about us not allowing
leading it.
And regular Muslims. That's what you're talking about. No one's talking about insurgents. Who wants insurgents
from
to come
Arab
over?
nations. You know what? So what? They're Muslim. The issue
what?
here is that
That's
you're
not
not
the America
trying
we
to
live in, Katrina.
No, it is. But it is, Essie.
I'm not sure I've heard a more fascist comment than, so what? They're Muslim.
Can I get that on a hat? So what? They're Muslim.
That's unbelievable. I know now nothing's unbelievable because there's nothing that Donald Trump couldn't say, wouldn't say, his spokespeople wouldn't say.
Yeah.
So imagine you're trying to ban any other group, right?
No, yeah.
So, common example we use. I want to ban all Jews from the country. And the spokesperson comes out, so what? They're Jews.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what? That's
what?
crazy. You
They're
can't
Hindus.
say that. You can't say that, right?
Yeah.
And she just comes on CNN and goes, so
Yeah.
what? They're Muslim.
I saw I think it was a Facebook post, it might have been a tweet. It was a two-step test that you should have every time you say something if you're Donald Trump. It's step one, change out any instance of Muslim for Jew. And step two, do you sound like a Nazi?
No, but by the way,
Yes, you sound like a goddamn Nazi.
no, but the thing is, that's not a good test for Trump because he's also anti-Semitic. So it's
That's
not
true. That's true.
So like when he spoke to the Republican Jewish Coalition, he kept saying over and over, I'm a good negotiator. And this room would know better than any how to negotiate, right?
You people.
And you people like to renegotiate. You know what I mean, right? And these are terrible stereotypes, and stereotypes lead to worse things, and then they lead to this, right?
Yeah.
So when he came for the Muslims, he didn't do anything. When he came for the Mexicans, he didn't do anything, and he's already come for them.
Yeah.
Okay. When he came for black people, like Black Lives Matter and that guy who got assaulted during his rally, you didn't do anything. You think he's not going to come for you?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. I realized this at the production meeting. So we a few weeks ago, I guess. Man, time flies. He wanted to have every Muslim carry around identification, basically to show who they are. We suggested perhaps a tattoo or a mark on their clothes. And in advance of that, I said that I can no longer predict the next fascist thing he's going to do. He's moving too fast for me to predict, but I did come up with something. I think that he's going to propose having children of his supporters wear some sort of uniform and go around looking for Muslims. That's my prediction. That's the next big fascist thing he's going to do, is a Cops for Trump campaign. You think he won't do it?
Wait a minute.
You think he won't do it?
The minute you said Cops for Trump, I was like, oh no, I think you might be right. Okay.
By the way, it also might already exist. The last thing I predicted from him, it already existed.
So there's this story a while back, I didn't want to get into it back then, but now look at this, right? about how he had a Hitler's book or whatever, and
By his bedside.
By his bedside, and would read it all the time.
It was just there for masturbation, though, to be fair. It wasn't like a philosophical thing.
So, I thought that's not, but come on, that doesn't mean anything. You could be reading it as most decent human beings do as to what to avoid, to make sure we don't fall into that. But now looking at this, he does seem like he's going step by step by step.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only in 1933 here. We're not in 1942, right?
Yeah.
But if we get the tots for Trump, hey, you know what's coming next.
What do you think the media would say if he literally bombed Pearl Harbor? They'd be like, well, you know what? You got some gumption. No. We're going to have you back on for a phoner tomorrow.
No, to be fair, when he said total ban on Muslims, the media did a good job. They went after him. They did. CNN and even Scarborough, everybody went after him. I mean, look at this. They're so hideous, they made S.E. Cupp look like a decent human being.
She did look pretty decent there.
Right.
It was a good look for her. She should stick with it.
I mean what she said. Okay.
No, that's literally what I meant. I was being an ass, but not a sexist ass, just an ass.
I see.
Yeah, she should be reasonable from now on. She should remember her origins. Okay, let's jump to something somewhat related. There we go.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
No. What's your thought?
No. When we had the graphic behind you, it looked hilarious as Trump was almost scowling at can you put that scowling at John?
Not bad. I like your T-shirt, kid.
Yeah, all right. Maybe you could be a tots for Trump, okay? Yeah. I don't mind the T-shirt. But hey, I need some cash from that.
Yeah.
I mean, what fair is fair. Don't be foolish.
They should all the tots will have a Make America Great hat, but it's going to be a brown hat. They're all going to wear the same brown hat.
Oh, that's such a great parody. That's what we got to do. Hats that say "Make America Hate Again."
He suggested "Make America White Again," which is really what they're getting at, honestly.
But great hate, it's too good.
It is good. We should make that.
All right.
Okay, I'll lead. Jump on it. Okay, moving on. An analysis of every suicide attack since 1980 shows a surprising motivation for those attacks, and it's not the motivation that you've been hearing about in the media. So this was conducted by University of Chicago Professor Robert Pape. He's also the founder of the Chicago Project on Security and Terrorism, and him and his team looked at over 4,600 suicide attacks since 1980. What 95% of all suicide attacks have in common is not religion, but a specific strategic motivation to respond to a military intervention, often specifically military occupation of territory that the terrorists view as their homeland or prize greatly. From Lebanon and the West Bank in the 80s and 90s to Iraq and Afghanistan, and up through the Paris suicide attacks we've just experienced in the last days, military intervention, and specifically when the military intervention is occupying territory, that's what prompts suicide terrorism more than anything else.
So, ironically, people's heads will explode when they read those facts, and they'll say, "No, it's not religion." Yeah, right. So, listen, guys, please think about this for a second. Now, why do you need to do suicide terrorism if you're losing? If you're winning, you're America, and you're a drone operator in Tampa. All you got to do is press the button, right? You don't need to strap on a suicide vest. Can you imagine? All right, reporting for duty here in Tampa. I got my suicide vest on. Where do I need? Hey, kid, take the vest off. We got drones. We got jets. We got tanks. We'll be all right, okay? The guys who put on the suicide vests are, by definition, desperate.
Yes.
Now, you could say, hey, religion is part of what's making them desperate. I would say that.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, right? And so it's driving them to a fundamentalism that's leading to take that extreme action. But also, obviously, part of what's driving them to that is that they're losing and they have no power. And as Pape is pointing out, they're occupied. There's been a military intervention. Yeah. So when did the Japanese start doing kamikaze attacks?
Not on day one.
They didn't kamikaze into Pearl Harbor because they didn't need to, right? Yeah. They had the strategic advantage. They just dropped their bombs, and that was that, right? Yeah. You do that when you're losing. Tamil Tigers, same thing. Muslim fundamentalists, same thing. So is there an element of politics involved here? Of course. If you can't see that, you've been blinded.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, and look, there's much lighter versions here. Like we see a lot of extreme Christians who hate gay people, for instance, and there does seem to be a tie there. But the idea that that's the only reason they hate gay people. No, you reinforce what you already believe. There's something psychological or emotional about you, and then you find a worldview, a philosophy that reinforces, says you're right. All the things you believe about the world and about other people, you're right. We agree with you, and so then you grab onto it. And that's what being like born again is all about. It's you find a group that already agrees with you, and then that's your identity. And you find much the same thing in the case of Muslim extremists. So Lydia Wilson wrote up an analysis of her interviewing ISIS fighters in Iraq for The Nation, and she said that they're woefully ignorant about Islam and have difficulty answering questions about Sharia law, militant jihad, and the caliphate. But a detailed or even superficial knowledge of Islam isn't necessarily relevant to the ideal of fighting for an Islamic state, as we've seen from the Amazon order of Islam for Dummies by one British fighter bound for ISIS. There's other motivations, and then the religion tells you everything you believe, philosophically and politically, is correct. God himself agrees with you.
Right, and it gives them the motivation, like, oh, I'm going to get into heaven, I'm going to, and there's a better life ahead for me. So we get all that, right? But at the same time, you got to understand, they don't know anything about their religion, the good sides or the bad sides, right? They didn't read the Quran, like that idiot deer that did the Planned Parenthood shooting. He was now claiming he did it for the baby. He's a warrior, quote-unquote, warrior for the babies, right? You think he read the Bible? If he'd actually read the Bible, he'd know that God is pro-abortion. Yeah. In several different parts, God talks about, like, well, give her some toxic poison. Let's see if she miscarries. She miscarried? She was cheating on you. Yeah. Right? So,
but no plan B.
Right. So these guys, it's to say that the text is the only thing driving them, don't look at any other factors. You'd have to be a little, okay, I don't want to insult anybody. I just want to say, you live in a black and white world, and that's the kind of the right-wing world, right? You're either with us or with them. You're the good guys or the bad guys, right? So it's only religion, right? No, religion is obviously all the factors. But listen to the data that they're pointing out here, which is that, yes, people do this heinous thing when they feel cornered, right? So now,
and it doesn't require religion, as in the case of Japan, as in the case of, there have been other international cases of secular, like, before 2003, that's what suicide bombings were. They were conducted generally by secular people.
Right, and in some cases, obviously, different religions, right? Yeah. So whether it's the Tamils, etc., right? And then it doesn't mean that every military intervention is wrong, right? So, look, there's a great debate about the Korean War. We at least got South Korea liberated, and it has made all the difference. Yeah. So you can't be in a black and white world in that sense either. No military intervention ever, right? Yeah. So obviously World War II was a military intervention of a sort, but thank God we did that. The question is, if you keep doing it over and over again, should you expect these consequences? And it appears that that is part of what normally ensues. Yeah. So we shouldn't be surprised by it. We should understand it so that we can know how to avoid it.
Yeah, and the last point that I want to make is I understand why people on both sides right now think that you can just say, or why they want to believe that you can just say it's just the religion. Because that is way theoretically simpler to solve. Because then all you need is to either say they suck a lot and really loudly, and then you can just use your philosophical persuasive tactics and you can jujitsu them into thinking their religion's wrong. But the problem is that then the social and military factors that the situation in their home countries don't change just because he told them they suck. That was always like, it doesn't go away. The decades and decades, the centuries of the colonial history of these countries, the fake borders that were set up, the constitutions that were set up that they don't agree with, being mashed together with other ethnic groups, that doesn't all go away just because you say you're lame and your religion's awful. All that stuff remains. The economic problems, the military problems, the social problems, that's all still there. That's what needs to be addressed, not just the religion, even if it does seem like a big surface part of it.
I mean, think about how absurd it sounds when you say it out loud. John, if you would just say the word Islam, it would all go away. What is this? Child's play? Is it kids? Wizard of Oz? Just say it. It's Islam's fault, and it will magically solve.
Reverse Beetlejuice. Just say Islam 3 times and poof, gone.
Okay, then all the problems are gone. Okay. All right, we got to do the last story. We've got because it's about the internet. I think it's so important.
Oh yes, that one. Okay. The leading presidential candidates on both the Democratic and the Republican side can agree on one issue, and that it's freedom of speech on the internet isn't that big of a deal. Why are you worrying about it so much? And so unfortunately here in this, we've got Donald Trump and we've got Hillary Clinton basically agreeing that terrorism means giving up some fundamental rights. First here is Donald Trump.
So the press has to be responsible. They're not being responsible because we're losing a lot of people because of the internet. And we have to do something. We have to go see Bill Gates and a lot of different people that really understand what's happening. We have to talk to them, maybe in certain areas, closing that internet up in some way. Somebody will say, oh, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. These are foolish people. We have a lot of foolish people. We have a lot of foolish people. We've got to maybe do something with the internet because they are recruiting by the thousands.
It's such a classic Trump line. We've got to maybe do something about the internet.
Something.
Okay. What does that mean?
Close it up.
He started that with, we're losing a lot of people because of the internet. Okay, what does that mean?
My friends in high school, we got really into World of Warcraft. I lost a lot of great friends.
That I believe. And then look at how old school he is. We got to go see Bill Gates.
And look, he's so great. I love Bill Gates.
No, but also a childish way of looking at the internet. If I go see the wizard of the internet, Bill Gates, he has the key to it.
Close it up.
Right? And so, Bill, hey, come on, Bill, close up the internet a little bit, okay?
And all the people out there in the crowd are like, yes, it's scary and big. I don't like it.
Boo, internet, we're losing people to it.
There was a moment of fear. When he said we got a lot of foolish people, people were looking around like, does he mean us? He does.
And does it get, I mean, look at the fascism again here. Yeah, people saying freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nonsense. There's a lot of foolish people out there talking about freedom of speech. No, we got to close it up.
Yeah. And that conservative audience. Yeah, freedoms. Right.
No, liberty. No, freedom. Yeah. Boo, freedom. Boo, America. What?
By the way, if you want to overdose on alcohol in about 2 minutes, listen to one of his speeches and take a shot every time he says a lot of people or a lot of things. It's the most vague language. He can't go a sentence without saying one of those two things. But unfortunately, in this case, while you have the foolish person on the right, you also, I would argue, have a foolish person on the left, likely to be the candidate for her party's nomination, Hillary Clinton, also talking about freedoms on the internet in this clip.
You're going to hear all of the usual complaints, freedom of speech, etc. But if we truly are in a war against terrorism, and we are truly looking for ways to shut off their funding, shut off the flow of foreign fighters, then we've got to shut off their means of communicating. It's more complicated with some of what they do on encrypted apps, and I'm well aware of that. And that requires even more thinking about how to do it.
So she's 1,000 times more sophisticated, but that also scares me. That scares me a little bit more in some ways. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. We can't have Trump win under any circumstance, right? Because his lack of nuance will lead to, well, let's just shut the internet down. Whoa, no, what? Don't do that. Right?
So what? It's the internet.
So don't be foolish. Just shut it down, right? So, but Hillary Clinton is part of the establishment that uses things like ISIS attacks, maybe in the beginning genuinely, but in a creeping way to whittle away at our freedoms in a more nuanced and sophisticated manner where we're the frog in the boiling water. She knows to turn up the temperature 1 degree at a time. Donald Trump just takes the frog and goes, here, meet boiling water.
I think that she's there. I mean, you see it there. Like, well, they're doing recruiting on these sites as if anyone is against the FBI or CIA or whoever investigating forums where they're doing open recruiting. Of course, they're shutting down their sites. They're already ready to shutting down those sites. She, because she's more sophisticated, then pivoted to sort of a side point from the point of view of the speech, which is the encrypted apps, and that's what this whole thing is about. They're already investigating the sites where they're doing the recruiting and how they're moving money around online. They're already doing all that stuff. It's that this is going back to something that every time there's a terrorist attack, they bring up this proposed bill, and Barbara Boxer and John McCain can get on the same page on this. It's where they want Google and Apple and Samsung and all of these manufacturers of both the apps, the software side and the hardware side, to put in the back doors for the government to go in. That's what all of this is about. That's that encrypted apps BS. It's nothing to do with websites where they're doing recruiting. It's that you need to be spied on by the internet every single day, regardless of the level of terror worldwide.
You have to understand that if you have even a minuscule amount of evidence, you can get a court to give you every backdoor you want on those particular accounts, right? You'll be like, yes, okay, go ahead, investigate, track them, shut them down, do whatever you got to do, right? Even this fraction of evidence, right? No, as John pointed out, Hillary Clinton's proposal and the establishment proposal that's been around for a long time is not to spy on those guys. That's relatively routine, right? I wish they did it better, in fact, right? We're all in favor of that. We want you to investigate those sites and protect us, right? But then when you say, no, let me actually investigate everybody, well, that's the dangerous part, right? That's how you lose your freedoms. At least Trump is telling you that he's going to take your freedoms away. The other candidates say, use coded language so you're not aware that your freedoms are being robbed.
Yeah.
All right. We are out of time. John, great job and a great shirt.
Shop TYT.com. Multiple different colors.
Richie Bitch. No, Bitchy Rich.
Bitchy Rich. Yeah.
Okay. All right. There's a one with my face on it called Thug Life. I don't know who pays
I see that one, actually.
Yeah, no, it's my shot from the Matthew McConaughey Contact.
I gotta see it. I gotta see that.
You gotta give me one. You're crazy. All right. Shop TYT.com. All right. We'll be right back, guys.
Oh my God, he lost everything. He lost everything, mommy.
Back on the Young Turks. So this is a stat that starting random in the second hour as we did in the first hour. Stat that I've been obsessed with for 2 days since I was made aware of its existence. So we're just having a little bitch fest here, and and the theme of the comments will be bitchy, as you'll see in a second. Anyway, but this stat greatly picked up my spirits. According to ComScore, in the month of July of this year, among 13 to 17-year-olds, there's a lot of different age brackets, and we win every age bracket under 24 by anywhere from small to gigantic margins, as you're about to see. And then above the age of 24, CNN and TYT are the only competitors. Everybody else, like MSNBC, Fox News, HuffPost, Politico, Vice, you name it, are way, way lower. Okay? So, anyway, among 13 to 17-year-olds, we were 79% of the views in news and politics. Okay?
Wow.
So everyone else combined, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, name them, every other media organization in the world combined was 21%. We were 79%. Okay, you ask young people, what do you watch? TYT. Why? What else do I watch? So, I guess sad day for everybody else. Damn. Anyway, so that'll pick your spirits up. At least it picks my spirits up. Much love. All right, let's do some tweets real quick. Kay says that crotch shot of John Iadarola was the highlight of my night. Thanks. When he stood up to show his T-shirt. Bitchy Gay Guy says
the same thing.
He might have been thinking the same thing, but he decided that he's gonna release his inner Trump. So he says, FYI, I'm the least straight person in the world. I'm tremendously gay. I know many, many gays. I'm very big in the gay community.
You got those Trump jesters on lock, by the way.
See, Bush is like this. Now listen, right?
Whereas Trump,
Trump is like, hey. Okay. Your mama says, already got my bitchy rich sweatshirt on order. Can't wait till it gets here to proudly wear in Portland. Damn straight, your mama. Okay, shoptyt.com to get that. Minnie Phoebus makes a good point. So what? They're Muslim, replace Muslim. Not with black or Mexican, not strong enough. Replace it with white or gun owners. Can you imagine there's a black activist comes on and he's saying something that is perceived as anti-white. He goes, so what? They're white people. Oh, like their lives don't matter. So what? They're white. Oh, that's exploding, right? Hey, how about some harm might come to cops? So what? They're cops.
Yeah.
That's exploding. Okay. Dabo Seaworth says, how soon is it before there's a spontaneous Quran burning bonfire at a Trump rally? I mean, I don't want that thought out in the world, but that is not unlikely.
Yeah.
Right? So, unfortunately, good point. And then one last funny one. Candy Graham for Mongo writes in, Hillary just wants to shut down the internet to keep Bill from looking at porn. That ain't right, Candy Graham. That ain't right. But it's kind of funny. Yeah. All right, everybody knows All Day Show on Friday, right? Our 10th anniversary of the live stream, longest running live stream on the planet. Not a big deal. But we're going to start at noon Eastern, and we're going to go for 10 hours. 10 hours for 10 days. We're going to have all the TYT hosts on here.
10 hours for 10 years.
Yeah, what did I say?
10 days.
So, yeah. Okay.
I'm like, wait, are we going to do 10 days of this shit?
Because you know I would.
Yeah, I do know you would.
Okay, so, yes, for 10 years that we've been on air. Don't miss it. It's going to be extravaganza. We're going to show you some old clips. The first time a lot of our anchors were on the air. It's going to be fun. TYTnetwork.com/live. Extravaganza. Go.
All right. Robert Louis Deere, the man who attacked a Planned Parenthood in Colorado Springs, killing 3 individuals and wounding as many as 12 others, has pleaded guilty to the crime that he very obviously committed. In fact, he had a number of outbursts during the trial. He said that he was, quote, a warrior for the babies. But the thing is, I don't know what the motive was yet.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. Maybe it was a bank robbery.
We should really, look, we need to really respect this case and not jump to conclusions. We don't know what the motive was. Authorities don't know what the motive was. There needs to be a full investigation. Robert Louis Deere made the outburst before he was formally charged with first-degree murder and other counts in a Colorado Springs courtroom. So, the incredible thing about this was that he had numerous outbursts throughout the whole thing, and he apparently looked at his defense attorney and was like, I'm not going to be meeting with him. I don't need to be meeting with him. He thinks he's a hero. And one of his ex-wives, by the way, he has 3 ex-wives.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible, but we live in that kind of world. One of them spoke to the press and said that he had attacked Planned Parenthood clinics previously. He confessed to that. Now, he didn't do it as violently as he recently did, but he would put glue in the locks of the clinic so people wouldn't be able to get in.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
That was 20 years ago he did that. With 3 ex-wives, you might think that he might have had some biblical issues with his own life, but apparently not. No, the Bible's for hating other people, not for yourself. And as with all fundamentalist lunatics, he thinks, no, none of this applies to me. It applies to you, and I need to kill you for it. And as with almost any homicidal idiot that chooses to kill based on an ideology, he killed all the wrong people. So he's a warrior for the baby, so he's going to go get, presumably, abortion doctors, the women getting the abortion. That's so disgusting to think that he was targeting any of those people. Who did he kill instead? A cop, a former Iraq war veteran, and a woman who's helping a friend at the clinic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's ironic, isn't it? Because he's supposed to be pro-life, and he proves that he's not pro-life. In fact, he robbed children of their parents by doing what he did. So he's a lunatic. There's no question about it. But again, we need to have an honest discussion of the rhetoric in this country, the type of defamatory propaganda that's thrown out there willy-nilly and it goes unchecked. And how it leads to the violence toward organizations and clinics like Planned Parenthood. Right after those videos were released, there were at least 3 to 4 attacks on Planned Parenthood. Vandalism, those types of things. And then, of course, this happened. This is not an isolated incident.
So when the attack first happened, of course, the right-wingers came in, and that's what the bank reference was to. Like, just because he's holed up in a Planned Parenthood doesn't mean that he was attacking Planned Parenthood. He could have been robbing a bank. Yeah, he could have been. Just accidentally wound up at the Planned Parenthood. Come on. I mean, why do you bother making up excuses like that?
Right.
And it's the most obvious thing in the world. And now, obviously, even they can't make excuses for it anymore. And look, it's fair to say, and we say it too, that it sucks that the Muslim radicals use the Quran as an excuse to do the atrocious things that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to fight against religion, and most especially fundamentalism, right, to make sure that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So can't you also see that it sucks that this guy uses the Fox News rhetoric and the right-wing rhetoric in this country and the perverted view of Christianity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not all Christianity, but this view, fundamentalist view of Christianity, to take out his homicidal instincts.
No, but the double standard is so clear, and anyone who doesn't see it just doesn't want to see it, okay? The violent rhetoric that's tied to Islam is understandably and justifiably condemned. It should be condemned, right? But the violent rhetoric that's tied to Christian religion...
No, it doesn't count.
It's not allowed to be criticized. It's incredible that it's not condemned.
Lone Wolf, probably, you can't even say it. Don't say it. False equivalency. Right? No, it's not false. It's fundamentalism. It's always the fundamentalists that do the violent actions. The poor little nuns running around trying to help feed the poor at a homeless shelter aren't going to do the violence because they're not fundamentalists. Okay? And you ask some of the highest bishops in the Catholic Church at the Vatican, right? And I've seen this in different documentaries. They're like, well, you obviously can't take it literally.
right? Because it's obvious. If you read the whole Bible, you cannot possibly take it literally if you're a sane human being. But there are people who push and push to be fundamentalists that take it literally, and then that go and do that, encourage people that wind up doing this. Yeah. So that's radical Christianity, and there's radical Islam. So be fair about both sides, right? But no, some people at the idea of fairness lose it, right? So in this case, at least today, he made it as clear as he could possibly make it that he did it for his view of radical Christianity.
Yeah. All right. An enraged woman in California attacked a group of Muslim men right after they stopped praying. So, this video that we're about to show you was actually filmed by one of the men who was praying, and apparently just the mere fact that they had been praying really set this woman off. Take a look at what her reaction was.
Eternity somewhere. But the people you tortured are going to be an eternity in heaven. You are very deceived by Satan. Your mind has been taken over, brainwashed, and you have nothing but hate. Nothing but hate. I'm sorry. You really inappropriate. Oh, it is inappropriate. You're right. For somebody to tape record me, it is inappropriate.
This lady was talking about my God.
Get out.
She was saying he is them.
Get out.
You're not talk to me.
Excuse me. Stop.
No, call the cops.
Please walk away.
Call the police.
You know, these Muslims are really violent, and we need to do something about them right away.
Okay, so in the beginning, I was like, that's okay. This is crazy woman. She's bothering this guy, but it's America. Mm-hmm. You get to bother people. And she's sitting there with her coffee. Okay, she's a religious nut herself. My God is better than your God. Yeah, whatever. Okay? Mm-hmm. Good luck with that. And your God is Satan and my God is awesome. It's just ridiculousness. But you don't get to hit people. That's a crime. So she should be arrested, and that's that. Right?
I just don't understand how they don't see the massive glass house that they're living in. You can't preach about how other people are violent and we need to put a stop to the violence. They're not harming anyone. The only one who's causing any harm in this scenario is you, lady. Okay? And it's funny because she's so overwhelmed by her own religious propaganda and also right-wing propaganda in this country that she feels like she's in the right. She totally misses the fact that she's projecting in every way.
So there's three levels here. She says Allah is Satan, right? Dude, yeah, Krishna is Beelzebub. Whatever. Zeus is Thor. These are all mythologies, and I'm amused by the demons that are in your head. So that's level one. I don't care about it at all. I'm just amused. Level two is she says you're all murderers. Okay, now wait a minute. Now you've got some sort of bigotry that is concerning, right? So anytime you see somebody of a particular religion, you think they're all murderers, okay, that's much more problematic. Again, you replace any other religion with it. Imagine what Fox News would do if you said all Christians are X or Y. Oh, the war on Christmas, the war on Christianity. Oh, we're the victims, right? And none of that actually happens, and they still do that, right? Imagine if they got the treatment Muslims do in this country. But level three is when she attacks him. I would have been very calm. I'm annoyed, but like, okay, I'm going to need you arrested. That's it. That's an assault. There's no question about it. Well, it's on tape, so that's that. You can't touch me. You touch me, you're under arrest.
Yeah, the guy was shockingly calm considering that situation.
Although I think he might have called her a bitch at one point.
Well, that's what she is. She's a bitch.
I'm not positive. All right. So.
I mean, I'm not going to condemn truth telling. So.
Truth telling. Okay. All right. Let's go forward.
All right. As everyone knows, legalized bribery is a real problem in the United States that corrupts the democratic system. But what happens when money corrupts the scientific field? Well, that's been a very serious problem when it comes to climate change and the number of scientists who refuse to put out academic evidence proving that climate change exists and that it's man-made. Now, Greenpeace recently did this expose that was awesome. It was basically an experiment where they posed as individuals or executives from these massive energy companies from abroad.
and they went to these academics here in the United States and basically tried to pay them to publish false information about how climate change doesn't really exist. And unsurprisingly, it worked. So we have two examples of that for you. According to The Guardian, which covered this story, two prominent climate skeptics were available for hire by the hour to write reports casting doubt on the dangers posed by global warming. Now understand that at this point, 97% of scientists agree that climate change exists and it is man-made. The rest seems like they've been bought off, okay? Over the course of their investigation, Greenpeace posed as the representative of a Middle Eastern oil and gas company and an Indonesian coal company. In the guise of a Beirut-based business consultant, they asked William Happer, the Cyrus Fogg Brackett Professor of Physics at Princeton University, to write a report touting the benefits of rising carbon emissions, according to email exchanges between the professor and the fake company. The physicist was receptive to the commission and asked to donate his fee to the CO2 Coalition, a group founded this year to shift the debate from the unjustified criticism of CO2 and fossil fuels.
See, this is a real sting operation. So, and this is what they do. They do projection, right?
Yep.
So, what is the number one charge that Fox News says about scientists who all agree that global warming or climate change is happening? Oh, they're bought off. They're doing it for the money. Really? Somebody bought off 97% of all the scientists? Thousands, hundreds of thousands of scientists across the world, they've all been bought off, and for what purpose?
Yeah.
Whereas the other side has a direct benefit from buying the 3%. They get to call it 50-50, and they get to spew fossil fuels from which they make billions of dollars. The Fox News claim is, the government is funding them, and hence that's why they want to make the government happy. But they said it during the Republican government years too, and the Republican government didn't want them to say it.
That's exactly right. You know what's also amazing about this is Greenpeace does this sting operation. It's a successful sting operation. It's not fraudulent or deceptive in any way, shape, or form, and it's not on the front page of every publication. The Center for Medical Progress does this sting operation that yields the results they don't want, so they edit their videos to make it seem like Planned Parenthood's doing something illegal, which they were not doing. Everyone's covering it, and everyone's covering it as if it was fact and it was not deceptive, okay, as if it wasn't lies. Now think about that. Two different issues. Abortion, that supposedly kills lives, which it doesn't, and then you have the issue of climate change, which actually literally kills lives. And Republicans don't give a shit about that. The media doesn't want to cover it. No one's covering this Greenpeace article. It's from freaking The Guardian, right? Publication in the UK. You know why? Because the journalism in the United States is bullshit. It sucks. And they don't care about the real issues. They're all bought off by the same corporations that are buying off these scientists.
So in reality, if you have like hit pieces from the right wing, you'll get all the coverage you want. And then they'll say, well, some say that it's doctored video and some say it's not doctored video. I'm just calling it even, but I'm showing it to you 24/7, right? But I've got a legitimate thing here that shows you that the scientists are saying, yeah, give me the money or funnel it to my to our little foundation we got there, and when you got a deal, I'll write whatever you need me to write. Yeah, that's not interesting. So even if I call it 50-50, I'm not going to call it anything because I'm not going to air it.
So the two scientists in this case went out of their way to hide where the funds were going to come from, right? Mm-hmm. And they made very clear that what they were doing wasn't illegal, and that's actually true. You can absolutely hide where the funding comes from. So I guess that's the big difference, right? This type of bribery is applauded in the United States. And again, it corrupts every single facet of our society, including our political system and even academics. So let me give you the second example. This is graphic number 8. The campaign group, Greenpeace, assumed another false identity, posing as an Indonesian energy consultancy to approach Frank Clemente, a retired sociologist formerly at Pennsylvania State University, to commission a report countering damaging studies on Indonesian coal deaths and promoting the benefits of coal. And so people are dying from this, but they want him to write papers saying that it's not really the situation.
He said no based on principle, right?
They offered him a tiny amount of money. I think it was around $15,000. He was like, absolutely. Greenpeace said it had approached a total of 7 prominent figures in the U.S. and U.K. climate denial movement The other 5 declined, either citing time pressures and area of expertise, or just did not respond. So there were some that didn't respond. Who knows what their intentions were? But the fact that there are 2 respected professors that are willing to put out false information about climate change is disgusting.
Do you think that he studied the Indonesian coal deaths before they asked him? Or he was like, oh, you need me to justify Indonesian coal deaths? $15,000 and you got a deal. You see, this is how it works. And so it's not the reporter by reporter. It's Anderson Cooper probably has very little choice in what he puts on his show. He's not the producer of
No, but he's keeping them honest.
He's keeping them honest in 1 second.
In 1 second.
Okay. But executives, on a macro sense in TV, they're like, oh, you want to report on dark money going towards corporate influence over facts. Who also gets dark money and gives out influence and then profits a lot from it? Oh, right, us. All that dark money in politics goes straight into our pockets in the form of television ads. Your left-wing diatribes don't interest us, right? So the idea that there's a liberal media is hilarious. So yeah, we found a Boston Globe reporter who said he voted for a Democrat. That doesn't make the media liberal, man. The guys who own the media are incredibly pro-establishment. They are the establishment. They're conservative in the sense of, don't change a goddamn thing. We're all getting really rich off of this.
That's exactly right. All right, let's take our first break. When we come back, Times Person of the Year. Does it matter? Probably not.
Okay. Jacking out with you guys. First some tweets for you guys. Rayford Madness says, Warrior for the Baby sounds lame. Now, Warrior Babies, you've got a screenplay right there. Okay. Way to take something horrible and make it slightly funny.
Yep.
No way, writes in, I wish we could get all the religious nutters to just pray. It's the voting and shooting that scares me. Very good point. Smooth says, is it inappropriate to point out that all 3 Abrahamic religions are referencing the same God? Bigots always ignore that. So that's exactly right. Now, Allah just means God in Arabic. And if you told that crazy lady who was yelling that Allah is Satan, you know who Allah brings back to save everybody at the end of the Quran? Jesus.
Oh.
Okay. If you
told her that, she'd be like, "No, that's not true. You're lying."
Yeah, well, it's really funny because I didn't get to this part, unfortunately. They said that Muslim religion believes in Jesus, and that apparently pissed her off more. She got even more angry.
Of course, you're giving me facts. I hate you.
But that's the difference between people in the U.S. and people in Europe. Going back to the story that we did yesterday about that YouTube duo that did that Quran experiment, right? Mm-hmm. When people were reading verses from the Bible and they thought it was from the Quran, they got corrected and they're like, "Oh shit, I guess we're a little prejudiced." That's not going to happen in the United States. In the United States, they're going to pull out their AK-47 and shoot you.
What'd you say? You said I'm wrong, motherfucker? Is that what you thought? Okay. So, but facts are kryptonite to Republicans. So, you told me something true. I hate you. Okay, anyways. Member shoutouts. Member number 1807 is John Valco. And member number 1657 is legendary Ann Wilkerson. So, now, speaking of legendary, the post-game yesterday, I know we had technical issues, but if you're a member, you always get it anyway, so make sure you watch it, because the infamous Face Stroker story was in there, including a part that Anna had never heard.
Yeah.
And then the story I never told about how conservatives tried to woo me into going after liberal professors back when I was a Republican. And today in the postgame, we're going to have another doozy. Another classic. Mm-hmm. Since we're going into the 10-year anniversary, that's on Friday, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern. We're going to go for 10 hours straight, tytnetwork.com/live. The Buford fight. Okay. So, in the control room, they were talking about if Hannity and I fought, what would happen, right? Mm-hmm. And so it reminded me of the fight I got in. I know it's funny because we were kids. I was in 8th grade, and I got into a fight with a guy named Buford. And like half the school watched. It's a great story. Some of you old school guys have heard it before, but I'm going to connect those two stories for you guys. That's all in the post game for the members, tytnetwork.com/subscribe. Okay, if you want to become a member and check that out. And then, that's it. So let's go forward.
All right. Time Magazine did another issue of one of their goofy People of the Year, and they named Angela Merkel as the Person of the Year. In fact, she is the first woman to be named Person of the Year in nearly 30 years. Okay, Merkel is notably the first woman to be given the overhyped distinction since 1986, when the Philippines president was honored. So it's nice that it's been almost 30 years and they finally switched things up a little bit. But honestly, okay, before we get further, who cares? Who cares? That's what I want to say about this. Like, this has been plastered all over the place. Everyone's talking about, by the way, Angela Merkel, badass. She's a badass woman. I don't agree with her on everything, okay, especially with the way she handled Greece, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, she is a powerful woman. She's been in charge in Germany since 2005. She is incredible. However, these magazines, and they're like People of the Year, and oh my god, it's goofy. It annoys the hell out of me. Okay, Time Magazine is irrelevant at this point.
Sorry. Since I'm sick, I gotta take coughing breaks every once in a while. Okay. So, it's funny because they come from a different world, right? Mm-hmm. In the old world, it was like a big deal, like, who is Time going to name as Person of the Year? I can't wait to hit the newsstands and pick that edition up as soon as it gets there. Mm-hmm. Among younger people under the age of 35, when's the last time you went and bought a magazine in a newsstand? What's a newsstand? Mm-hmm. Right? So it's like we live in two different worlds, and they don't understand why we don't think this is a big deal. They're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's a Time Person of the Year.
Yeah, and here's another reason why this story rubs me the wrong way. It has nothing to do with Angela Merkel at all. It has more to do with how they lead to the hype right before they released the issue. So prior to knowing who it was going to be, there were all these like rumors that were probably perpetuated by Time Magazine about how Kim Davis was going to win Person of the Year. And then there's all this like outrage and people are upset and they're like, how dare they? They better not do it. And it's all just a way of getting us to talk about Time Person of the Year. I'm banning this story from this point forward.
From this point forward. All right.
Okay, no more Time Person of the Year.
Comment on
Unless it's me, then I'm going to talk about it.
Okay. Let me say this. By the way, you want to know who won the online voting? By almost a landslide.
Anna Kasparian.
No, Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Okay, he beat Malala Yousafzai by 2-1 margin. She came in second. And Time Magazine then put out the list of people that they were considering. He wasn't even on the list. They're like, you bothersome people on the internet with your Bernie Sanders. No, we're not considering him. Okay, we're considering Trump. We're considering Putin. Okay, which, by the way, they should. They were very important people this year. It's true. And Merkel was huge.
Mm-hmm.
But God damn it.
Let me think of something to say while Cenk has his cough attack.
I don't know. We haven't done an app on the poll. We haven't done a poll on the app in a while.
Yeah.
Should Cenk be on the show in the middle of his coughing fits?
I just feel like you need that. You need that purple drink. Do you know what that is?
Is it protein though?
It's. You probably do need protein, but you just need some codeine cough syrup, and you'll be fine. Drink the codeine cough syrup before bed. You'll be better the next day. I don't know if you're gonna wake up, but.
Damn it!
No, you guys don't understand.
Cough drives me crazy. Okay.
Codeine cough syrup is the best thing ever invented for coughs. It's the only thing that helps.
By the way, how different are we than every other show on the planet, right?
Where we talk about the purple drink?
No. It's that, like, if there was a coughing fit in the middle of CNN, everyone in the studio would panic. They're like, cut away! Cut away! There's coughing! Oh my God, we're all gonna get fired! Okay, anyway. Poll, TYT app. Should Cenk be on the show when he's coughing up a lung? Okay? I think a lot of people vote, yeah, fuck it, dude, get on there anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd rather have you on than not on. But some people are like, come on, dude, get a load up. Get the fuck out of here with your cough. All right, anyways. Okay, back to this story for one last second. So, Angela Merkel is, of course, a huge player on the international scene. Her decisions in regards to Greece were enormously relevant. So it's not a bad choice. It's perfectly fine. I'm with Anna with the stop with the melodrama and the soap opera. Who's it gonna be? Right?
Yeah.
And it's always tricky. It's never the guy that they said it was gonna be. Like,
yeah.
Here's our options. Psych, it wasn't one of them. Like, okay, I know. Okay, you guys all vote. Oh, it's not the person you selected. Okay. So, ignore that. But later in the year, we'll have the real award. Turk of the Year.
Oh my God.
That matters.
We're guilty of the same thing, aren't we?
Totally.
All right, let's move on.
Okay. But to be fair to us, one last thing. We also have the Jerk of the Year, and that's fun. Okay.
All right. If you are a mobile individual who is relying on these popular hoverboards, well, there are some consequences for you. It turns out that some of these hoverboards are faulty and could increase the risk of the device overheating, exploding, or catching fire. In fact, nearly 90% of all hoverboards in the UK have been recalled because of this issue. We have a video of one hoverboard at a wall in Washington State, at a mall in Washington State. Take a look at what happened.
No way.
Holy cow.
You know what? Good. No one got hurt, and the reason why I'm saying good is because those hoverboards are annoying and they shouldn't be used by people who can walk. How about you walk? How about that? How about we're already overweight? How about we're already inactive? Why are you going to take those few minutes of your life where you actually walk a little bit and get your ass on a hoverboard? Hoverboards drive me crazy. Every time I see them, I want to, take it and break it in half.
Okay. Anna's in an agitated mood today. Okay. Goddamn hoverboards! Get off my lawn! Okay. I have two thoughts on that. One, I don't believe it. And two...
You don't believe what?
I don't believe it.
Okay.
Two, of course! Okay, so here's what I mean by that.
Great point. Nailed it.
Okay. So, will things that are mechanical catch on fire every once in a while? Of course they're going to catch on fire at some point. Do I believe that hoverboards catch on fire more than other things? No. I don't believe it. Okay, you know why? Because there's a story in the press every year about something else that catches on fire, right? Oh, the Teslas are catching on fire. I don't know. A Tesla once probably caught on fire, right? And so a hoverboard caught on fire here. Lawnmowers are catching on fire. I guarantee you there was a lawnmower on fire this year somewhere.
No, look, the reason why those stories make it as, headlines is because shit catches on fire. And things get recalled all the time. That doesn't mean that this isn't a real issue.
No, but everybody's going to panic. Like, if I'm on a hoverboard.
You shouldn't buy the hoverboard, okay? You shouldn't buy the hoverboard. If you are an able-bodied individual, why do you need the hoverboard? No, I just don't.
Why do you need a skateboard? What are you skating down the street for?
You know what?
Legs,
here's what I like about skateboards. It still requires you to use your body, okay? And there's some physical element to it. No, it's. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard. Maybe I'm being way too hard on people who like hoverboards. But they remind me of Segways. They're like Segways without the ridiculous long thing that you hold on to. And it's lazy. Just walk. Why do you need this?
It's fun. They like it. Stop being such a grandma.
No, I'm gonna be a grandma.
I'm kidding around about the skaters, but not so much because they jump in front of your car. At least the hoverboard kids have a harder time jumping in front of your car. Okay, but I know we're both grandma and grandpa. But overall, I think the point of the story is don't panic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Every year there's a panic story about things catching on fire. Some of my friends...
You should panic about your body just deteriorating because you refuse to do something as simple as walk. How about that?
Okay. The stress from your panic will cause you more harm than anything catching on fire. Okay, I should say something. One friend I know believes that if you talk on your cell phone near a gas station, it will blow up.
There have been a few instances of that happening.
No, there have been none.
Right?
No. See, that is the thing. If people go around thinking that... Are you kidding
How do you know that that's never happened? Can someone look into that, please?
If talking on a cell phone
by a gas
station cause gas stations to blow up, that would be international news.
I know.
That would break the news as to how large a news item that would be.
I know, but it's not necessarily the cell phone. I remember reading about this. It was a long time ago, but there's something involving like static in your body, and then you touch the pump. And
I don't believe
JR is our researcher. He's going to look into this. Well, you know what? There are facts out there. And
before even looking, I remember it was more of getting in and out of the car.
Right.
The static from getting in and out of the car.
That's right.
And I remember
gas stations explode because of static.
I remember when that happened
over and over.
It was,
but nobody likes to report on it. They like to cover that up. Exploding gas stations. Local news says no.
Okay, Jake. Next, you're gonna say you're supposed to smoke a cigarette at the gas station.
Okay. I know that it's happened before. Okay, maybe it's not widespread, but I know it's happened before.
Not buying.
Small thing about the hoverboards and his ire. I'm all for being angry about new things because I resisted, online streaming of music and all that stuff well late into my years, and I should have. But yeah, I'm all for moving. But there's things we do to not move as much, and it's okay.
We need to stop it.
I mean, it's like saying, don't take that escalator,
Yeah, don't take that escalator. Walk your ass up
the stairs. Why
do
these things exist? They exist. It makes life easier and better for people.
Is that what we need? I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old. That's what's happening. I'm getting old. The hoverboards annoy the hell out of me.
I gotta say something briefly. I can't not stand hoverboards. I totally agree with you. If you are physically not able to walk, yes, you should use a Segway, wheelchair, whatever. But if you're physically able to walk, and believe you me, I'm not a big fan of walking. I hate walking to the parking lot here when I leave work. But if you use a hoverboard or any of that, you're a douchebag. And as far as I'm concerned, and yes, I'm being a little sadistic here, if they continue to catch on fire, then they're hurt.
No, don't say that.
I said it, and I'll bring some graham crackers and marshmallows, and we'll make some s'mores. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Bart's back there.
The opinions of Bart Kyle do not represent the opinions of the network.
Okay, agreed on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to some fun stuff that's kind of cute. Okay. The leader of Croatia recently gave a human rights award to an unfortunate man who experienced an unfortunate situation.
He's a fortunate man, except for what happened that night.
I don't know. I think it's really cute, actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I love him for it.
I don't know what happened. Maybe his belt wasn't tight enough. Maybe his button on his trousers or pantaloons popped. But take a look at what happened to this poor guy. Aw, he's getting the award. Then all of a sudden, the pants fall. And then he looks. He's like, oh my God, my pants. What happened? Then he pulls them up. He's like, everything's all right.
Oh, God, that's so embarrassing. I love this guy.
I love him too. He looks like a family member.
Okay.
Amir and I were talking about this. Amir, who put the rundown together today because he's a badass. We're talking about how he looks like someone who'd be at our dinner table during the holidays.
Is there a lot of people at your dinner table with their pants off?
No, it's just there's something
Your
very.
pants are off. You're here for dinner.
He looks, look, he's Croatian, obviously, but he looks like vaguely Armenian or Persian or Turkish. Like, he could pass for anything. So I look at him and I'm like, oh my God, that's my Kenny. You know, like, it's crazy.
Oh, he's my dede. Okay, that's, by the way, Ivan Zvonimir Zizek. And he was receiving a Human Rights Award. So, all the reason more to love him. He's doing the right thing. Obviously, not the best time for your pants to fall down. But don't worry, Ivan. It did. I know it seems embarrassing, but it makes everybody else have more sympathy for you and like you more.
Oh, totally.
And Ivan, we would have never known that you had won a Human Rights Award if your pants hadn't fallen down.
That's exactly right. This was maybe he did it on purpose. Maybe it was a publicity stunt.
If it was the most clever publicity stunt I have ever seen.
What's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you in public?
I'll give you a quick story.
Okay.
So, I don't know if this is the most embarrassing, because there's been plenty of embarrassing things, but when I was a kid in 6th grade, I got into a fight with my English teacher, reading we used to call it back then, right? And she accused me of cheating on a test, and I was enraged, and I was yelling at her in front of the whole class, and Maren Foyer said, hey, Cenk. I said, what? Your fly is down. And I was like, oh, no. The teacher is like, all right, you got to go to the principal's office. And I was like, right away. I couldn't run out of that room quick enough. God, I was such a dork. And I was saying, like, I'm averaging a 95 in this class. Why would I be cheating? By the way, I had
totally cheating.
I had looked at Paul's test. I had. Because I couldn't get that last answer. I'm the worst. You know what I did, though? Many years later, maybe decades later, I found Mrs. Miller and apologized to her.
Aww.
I said, you know, you were right. I was cheating. I'm so sorry for
What did she
yelling.
say?
She's a great person. She appreciated that I said.
Aw. Yours wasn't really that embarrassing, I would argue.
Are you kidding me? When you're in 6th grade and one of the cute girls tells you your fly's down and the whole class laughs?
Yeah.
It doesn't get any more embarrassing than that.
I have a more embarrassing story. I have to tell it. When I was in 7th grade, there were a group, I had bullies all throughout my school experience, right? But this group of bullies, they were more like, they weren't violent, they were more in favor of just taunting me and embarrassing me as much as they could in front of people. So there was this one day when I go to the girls' bathroom, and I go into the stall, I have to pee, not a big deal, and there's someone in the stall next to me with explosive diarrhea, right? And it's like the noises and the smell, and it was bad. And I felt terrible for her, but I was like, let me get the fuck out of here before, I have to deal with the smell. As I walk out of the stall, group of bullies are by the sink. And they look at me and they're like, oh, do you have diarrhea? And then they start calling me caca girl.
Oh, no, because they thought it was you.
Yes. And so they went around calling me caca girl for months. And it caught on, and other people started calling me caca girl. But I was hot, so I didn't care.
Yeah, all right, then
no, but like, I realized at that point,
that's what I should have said. Oh, yeah, Maren? Yeah, you take a good look. Because you're missing out on a show.
That's only what Trump would do. I could totally see Trump doing that as like a weird 6th grader.
Oh, my God. Oh, if you want to have fun, somebody should get Trump talking about his penis.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It's the best penis you've ever seen.
It'll make your head spin.
Ron Jeremy's jealous. All right. Should we do one more?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's do one more story. Researchers have looked into the way miscommunication usually occurs when you're texting someone. And what they found was that if you end your sentences on text messages with a period, people are likely to think that your message is insincere. Now, the way that they did the study was very simple. They focused on a very small sample size of 126 people. It skewed more in the direction of women, or young girls, I should say, and they found that when they were given text messages that ended with periods, meaning that they were properly punctuated, they were perceived as being insincere. However, if the text messages had no punctuation, it seemed more sincere to them, or if the sentences ended with an exclamation mark, it seemed more sincere.
That's so strange.
It's not strange. I absolutely understand this, and I hate it because I feel pressure to use the wrong punctuation in emails and correspondence just to make sure that people don't think I'm being a bitch.
That is insane.
Yes.
I miss this insanity,
Yes.
man. So, like, oh, what a weirdo. Uses correct grammar. Don't trust her.
Well, here's what happens. Here's what happens with nonverbal communication, texting and things like emails, things like that. You don't have the privilege of giving a person these nonverbal cues, right? So they don't know whether you're excited or if you're happy or if you're really agreeing with them or if you're being sarcastic and short. So let's say someone makes plans and they say, hey, Anna, are you cool with meeting at, I don't know, the Hudson at 12? And if I just respond with sure with a period, it seems like I'm being short and I'm really not into it. I feel pressure to say sure with an exclamation mark so they know I'm enthusiastic about it. But it happens all the time. The miscommunication happens all the time. People think that you're not sincere, you're being short with them, you're being sarcastic. They don't have the ability to see what your facial expressions are, what your body language is.
Okay, but if you wrote sure with no period as opposed to an exclamation point, that's still better than having just a period.
Just a period. According to this one study.
Okay.
According to this one study.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, I got to make sure that I screw up my grammar in the texting. Like, whatevs, kinda, maybe, what up, yeah, go. I don't know, is that better? What does that mean? They're like, oh, this guy is super sincere.
Well, I feel like your emoji use needs a little improvement.
Oh, my emoji game is weak sauce.
It really is weak sauce. You just really need to convey what you're really feeling in that moment, and you're not good at that.
Okay, all right, I'll try to pick up my emoji game, and here's the lesson I'm getting from young folks in this country. Fuck grammar.
It's true. By the way, this study did have flaws. For those of you who are interested in reading it, it will be published in February of 2016 in Computers in Human Behavior. That's the journal it's published in. Again, it was a small sample size, and the sample size wasn't representative. They need to look at other demographics instead of young women to decide what the perceptions are.
I'm amused at the idea of them having my dad in a sample, like the text. What is this? Why it has no period? What's the rest of the sentence? Okay, all right. Lots to show for you guys today, and like I said in the post game, the famous Paul Buford fight. That's not the same Paul I cheated from. That was Paul Calamia, very bright guy. Okay, so that's the post game for the members. TYTnetwork.com/subscribe, and then don't forget Friday, pretty much all day, 10 hours of coverage for our 10-year anniversary, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern on TYTnetwork.com. Bye-bye.
Mi hijo está durmiendo ya. Qué bonito es.